Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode 59. Don't give me any money. Don't give me any people, but give me freedom. And I'll give you a movie that looks gigantic. Robert Rodriguez.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Don't forget to head over to freefilmbook.com. That's freefilmbook.com to download your free film audiobook from Audible. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I like to get my social media game tight, especially when working on a movie or trying to promote a movie. So I came up with this course to help you guys out with that. It's called Twitter Hacks. How I got 10,000 Twitter followers in 10 weeks and dominated Twitter. That number is now up to over 20,000 followers, and it's a great course. It really helped out a lot. I got a lot of people who went from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers faster than even I did. So it was pretty crazy. So I would head over to twitterhacks.com. That's twitterhacks.com to download your discounted version of the course. Now, guys, every once in a while, I get a call or I'm contacted by a filmmaker that really, truly inspires me. And this girl, her name is Kenzie Bowling, is remarkable. And I brought a tear to my eye when I heard her story. She is actually a 17-year-old filmmaker who, at the time, made her first feature film at 16 years old. But get this, she actually shot it on 16 millimeter film. That's right, film, guys. Can you imagine? So we had a 16-year-old director shooting her first film, which is called BC Butcher, and I'll let her explain to you the story, which is fascinating. It's just a fun story. And I love the story how she got distribution for her film, her first feature film. It's such an inspiring story, guys. I really wanted to bring this story to you. She is just she's just wonderful. I really, really loved this interview with her. And it really is inspirational for all of us older guys out there trying to hustle and trying to get our features made. This little girl just showed up and she's like, you know what? I'm not going to shoot this on an iPhone. I'm going to shoot this on 16 millimeter film. By the way, no experience with 16 millimeter film. So she actually had to learn a whole lot of stuff, had to get special deals at PhotoCam, had to go find the gear, which was not easy to do. And all sorts of craziness to get her vision made. But she did, and she's an inspiration to us all. So please enjoy my interview with Kenzie Bowling. Kenzie, thank you again so much for being on the Indie Film Hustle podcast. I am very excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the audience knows this young lady is a 17-year-old director who created a amazing movie called BC Butcher. So can you please tell us what BC Butcher is?
BC Butcher is a 16 millimeter prehistoric slasher film. It's the first slasher film to be set in prehistoric times. and it features cameos by Kato Kalin, Rodney Bingenheimer, and Kadeem Hardison, and a really, really great cast. A bunch of girls playing cave women. Natasha Halevi, Leilani Fiddler, Devin Leah, Molly Elizabeth Ring, Parker Love Bowling, that's my sister.
Of course.
and a live musical performance by the Ugly Kids,
nice.
A local band. Yeah.
Nice. And just so you know, a little bit of trivia, Kato Kalin used to be my next door neighbor. Believe it or not, he's a very, very sweet guy, and he was always nice to me anytime I saw him.
Kato's a really, really great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So how'd you come up with this crazy idea? Because obviously it's insanely awesome, but I want to know how you came up with it.
Me and my friend Kenzie Givens, when we were in high school, I was just 15. I think she was 16. We came up with the idea. It was just at my house, and I said we should make a caveman movie just because it would be cheap and we could just go in the bushes and film things. And then she said it should also be a horror film, and then we just came up with the idea on the spot. and we started writing it.
It's because as as horror movies go, it is pretty unique.
Thank you.
And what I love about your story is that not only is, obviously the movie itself is, very fun. You're having a lot of fun with the genre and, just having a good old time. But you're so young is another thing. Now, there's a lot of young directors out there. I've talked to kids that they're like, I've been directing since I was 12. I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. It's like, it annoys me because I couldn't even touch a real camera until I was much, much older. But what made it so interesting when you contacted me is that you shot on 16 millimeter. So I want you to tell me why 16 millimeter, and then we'll get into some technical questions.
Well, I really, really fell in love with the 16 millimeter just because, especially movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then just like a lot of like the low budget 60s, like especially early 60s movies, and when they're shot on 16, they just have like these really vibrant colors, like like there's one called The Undertaker and His Pals, and Color Me Blood Red,
Genius.
She Freak, things like that. They just have like these really crazy colors, and I mean it's probably a bunch of film stocks that aren't even around anymore, but still it's just what I really wanted to go for. And also I just think it's really important to shoot on film just because people don't really do that anymore.
I know. I know.
Well, I mean, there are like a lot of big movies that still shoot on 35, but 16 kind of gets forgotten about, and I don't think it should be because it looks really great, and I just think it's really important to maintain that.
So it was an aesthetic choice because you just love 16. Like I've shot 8 millimeter, Super 8, 16, 35. IMAX is the only thing I haven't shot in my career. So I remember I had an Arri BL back in the day, my own, and with the crystal sink, so we have audio and the whole ball of wax. I know a lot of people listening to this are going, "What is he talking about? What is this thing?" They're saying film. So that's what I caught that would really, not only your youth and the obviously the nature of the story, but that you're a young person who loves film and wants to maintain it. So I have to ask, where did you shoot this, by the way?
In my dad's backyard in Topanga Canyon.
Okay, so you shot it here. You shot it here in California. Yeah. So you have where did you develop this? Like, I want to know the workflow. Like, how did you, so people understand what a difference it is shooting on 16 as opposed to shooting on a digital format, so people understand what you've gone through at your age.
Well, first I had to go through Kodak, which is really weird because they used to have this location. It was on like Fountain, like Highland and Romaine, something like that. And so I had to go to this big warehouse and pick up this big box of film. And I went there recently to get film for a music video, and there's nothing there.
Right. They're not.
Yeah, really crazy. It was just like instantly they're gone. But so anyways, I had to go through them. I had to get a big box of film, and they were really nice. And even though I wasn't a student, because I was out of high school, they still got me like student hookups and stuff. And they're really supportive in how I wanted to shoot on film. So I got it from them. And I wasn't the cinematographer on my film. I had a cinematographer, Richard Samuels. He had a SR2, which is heavy duty 16 millimeter camera.
Oh yeah. I shot with the SR3. So that was with the digital time code. That's like hardcore.
Yeah, that's hardcore. So Richard shot it and everything. But then once we shot everything, then I had to take it all to Photochem in Burbank to get it developed. And then after that, you have to do a telecine to be able to edit it digitally, because we edited it digitally because people don't really edit on film anymore. That kind of went out like 20 years ago. Right. Maybe longer. Right. And then so that's scanning it, putting it from film to digital. And then that's how we have the finished product. But what right now I'm trying to do, what I'm in the process of, is trying to get it back to film to screen it on film. But that's going to be
that's a rough one.
Crazier process.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask, because all of this has a substantial cost involved. So what was the budget of your film?
Um,
Give or
pretty
take.
much. Well, it was all besides the money I raised crowdfunding, which wasn't a whole lot. It was
Mhm.
just my savings.
Mhm.
So I tried not to keep track really just because I don't like knowing how much I spent on it.
You'll make a fantastic producer one day.
Yeah. Just because, it was gradual, just like, over time, just kept spending money. But
Got you. It
I
wasn't
think,
something that was done over a weekend. This was a
yeah,
long
yeah,
process.
probably over like 2 years. Just because there's all these unexpected costs that kept popping up, and then like, I had to get
Oh,
the rights to the song I used in the opening credits. Like I actually bought the rights for Alley Oop by the Hollywood Argyles, 1960.
mhm.
So that I had to drop a lot of money on that, but
They must have been very happy.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think overall it was probably close to 15,000.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. 15 grand to do the, yeah. God.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of it was film cost, obviously. Now I'm sure
Yeah.
Photocam gave you a good deal and Kodak gave you a good
they're all
deal.
really helpful. Yeah, but it was I raised 1,700 crowdfunding, probably like 1,500 after like what they took out. But besides that, it was all just money I raised waiting tables and stuff.
God bless you. You are God bless you, man. Seriously, you're like the poster child for like an entrepreneurial filmmaker at such a young age is fascinating to me. But let me tell you something. I was once also the youngest person in the room, and it does eventually. You're not. So,
Yeah.
so enjoy it while you can. So with 16, well, first of all, how did you even get exposed to shooting 16 millimeter? Was it just purely by watching the movies you loved growing up?
Yeah. And also, I mean, I always had a Super 8 camera.
Mm-hmm.
So that, but I took there's this really, really great resource in Los Angeles, the Echo Park Film Center.
Okay.
And I've taken a few classes there, just how to shoot 16 millimeter, even though I didn't shoot the film in my movie, just how to shoot Bolexes and stuff like that, and how to develop your own film. So I took classes like
develop your own 16 millimeter.
Yeah,
That's
they do a lot of classes.
crazy.
Yeah, I took this one really great class there, how to do in-camera effects on a Bolex, because you can, rewind the camera.
Double
So you can
exposure.
actually, you can make titles and stuff inside the camera. It's crazy.
This is such a lost art, and again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, because so many young filmmakers have no understanding about what film could do as a tool to tell stories, and that's why J.J. Abrams and Chris Nolan and Tarantino are all fighting to hold on to film as not the mainstay, but at least an option. Because there are things you can do in film that you still can't do digitally, whether that be like something as fun as double exposure or other things like that. It just has a different aesthetic to it. I love film, but I can only imagine. So basically, you shot and you had no idea if you got it or not until you went to development. Did you have a video assist?
No.
Oh, Jesus. You didn't even have a video assist.
No, we didn't.
So you were literally shooting like the olden days. Like you literally had no idea. Like, okay, I think maybe. All right, let's move on.
I've actually, so I shot this movie and I've shot 4 music videos too before. And just the last music video I did was the first time I ever had a video going the same. I didn't even know you could do that. I was like, oh, this is helpful.
Wow, this is amazing technology. That's awesome. That is awesome. You have no idea how warm and fuzzy I feel right now, because it's like that's what I shot. I shot all my demo reels on 35 mil because there was nothing else, and there was so expensive. So I was just wondering about how the process was. So then you edited what, on Final Cut or on Premiere?
Avid.
On Avid, okay.
Yeah.
So you transferred everything to what, like a 1080p file or?
Oh, that's where I don't know anything.
Got it. I just went over. Got it. No problem.
Yeah.
I geek out sometimes. I apologize. So you transferred it. You transferred it to a digital files. You edit everything down, and now you're trying to digitally output it back out to a film print.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
And
It's very expensive.
Yeah, but I just have to make like one answer print, and then once I make that, I can make cheaper prints off of that. So it'll be worth it. Just so I have something physical that I can screen places. And I mean, it's not like there's going to be a high demand for a theatrical release or anything, but
right. But just
for me, I really, really wanted.
Well, why don't you just do a DCP of it, digital DCP? You know what a DCP is, digital cinema package.
Yeah. I mean,
and then from there, just have it bumped up to a 35 millimeter print. You don't have to do an answer print.
The problem is that with 35 millimeter, it would be twice as expensive.
But can he even output to 16? That's the thing. Like, because that's why you need the answer print, because there's just no way to scan out to a 16 millimeter.
To actually, cut the negative. And apparently there's like one negative cutter left in the entire world. And I had to talk to her the other day, and it's all.
God bless you. Seriously. I'm exhausted, and I'm not even making the movie. Like your determination with film is inspiring. It really, really is. So take me through your strategy of crowdfunding and how you got money around this, because obviously this is a very unique story. 17-year-old girl wants to make a movie about what is it? It's a slasher film in the prehistoric time and 16 millimeter film. Like that's really, you throw a one-legged hooker in there and you've got a movie. No, I'm joking. That's a Sundance favorite right there. But so yeah, tell me your process of how you went after your fan base. Like, how did you build a fan base, and how did you kind of crowdsource them and crowdfund, and how did it work?
Well, for crowdfunding, I actually really did not have a strategy. That's why I didn't really reach my goal.
Okay.
Because it was just after I shot the first scene. I did like a little promo. It was the first thing I ever really did.
I saw that.
So I was pretty naive about things. So I just thought, hey, I'll just put this online. Everyone's going to throw money at me. And
not maybe 15 years ago, but not so much today. Right.
So, but I mean, what I did, I put the campaign online, and then I went to Monsterpalooza, the horror movie convention in Burbank, and I made little handmade flyers, and I passed them out to people, just going, I made a movie, give me money. And I gave one to Devin Faraci, who writes for Birth Movies Death. It's like a horror website, and so he wrote an article about it, and then from that, then all these other people started seeing it and giving me donations and stuff. So he was kind of the first person to give it any exposure. And then from that, Fangoria wrote an article. And I started getting donations from like France and like China, and it was really weird. And, but I ended up raising $1,700. I was trying to raise, it's a lot of money. I was trying to raise 10,000, but at least I did that, and I got a lot of exposure and a lot of attention for it. So that was really helpful. It at least started a fan base somewhat.
Now, how did you get like Kato and the rest of your cast involved? Like, how did you contact them?
Well, actually, so Rodney Bingenheimer's in the movie, and he's someone I just met, not really through the movie. I just met him, and he's really good friends with Kato. So somehow that happened.
Got it.
I got Rodney in the movie, and then I got Kato in the movie. Yeah, Rodney helped me get Kato.
Got it. So it was all. It seems like you're just kind of going by the seat of your pants here. Doesn't. You're just like, hey, I'm gonna go make a movie.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna make a movie. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, sure. Let's put this guy in. All right, yeah, cool. We'll do that.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's going. And then the Ugly Kids, that band, I put up flyers at Amoeba Records saying, do you want your music in a movie? Send your music to this email. And I got like 10 different techno bands, which is not what I wanted. And then I got the Ugly Kids. So I was like, okay, you guys can be in it.
You really, I mean, what I find fascinating, and I hope people listening to this podcast get, is the inspiration of someone from your generation, a young person, is hustling hard to get their movie made. And then you have obstacles in front of you that you've imposed on yourself by shooting 16 millimeter, which is like, if I went out to shoot a 16 millimeter feature film right now, I just can't even comprehend it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what would happen? It would be so much because I know what to expect. And I think your innocence has helped you dramatically because you had no idea what you were getting into. And that's am I right? Is it like that? That's the brilliance of what you've been doing. It's kind of like you're just like, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. I'm just going to go make a 16 millimeter. You have no idea how to do it.
I'd say so, but at the same time, I'd do it all again.
Right, exactly. Because you love the process, you know?
Yes.
You love the process about it. So, so can you tell me a little bit about some of the technical challenges with shooting 16 millimeter, besides not having a video assist?
Well, I mean, we didn't really have much. There was one day where we ran out of film and we didn't know it.
You just heard that? You didn't hear that?
Yeah.
You didn't hear that?
Somehow we just didn't catch it. We just kept shooting. So there's one character in the film who dies. I'm not going to say which girl, but we shot a whole chase scene before she dies, and we didn't get any of it. So we just had to kind of cut away and then cut back to her dying.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So I mean, oh well. It happens.
It happens. It happens.
We worked around it. There weren't really that many
technical
troubles.
stuff.
Yeah, not many technical troubles. I mean, and then just like the normal stuff that doesn't really have to do with film. Like there were, we got like wind in the sound, stuff like that. I don't know.
So let me. Yeah, I know. It's just general production stuff.
Yeah.
So as a director, like first of all, what made you want to be a director?
I'm not even really sure. I've wanted to make movies ever since I can remember, really.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like, I was like 7 years old, and me and my sister and my friend, we would like play Charlie's Angels and stuff.
Nice.
And
Charlie's Angels, the movie, not the TV show.
Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess it's
kind of embarrassing.
Fair enough. I needed to clarify that for everybody. So the guys that are my age will go, oh, son of a. Go ahead.
No, but now I like the TV show.
Of course, TV show was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I was 7, that's when Kill Bill came out. I know that that probably makes me seem very, very young.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Me and my sister, we would always pretend to play Kill Bill, and we got fake samurai swords. And so I've just always loved movies my whole life, and that's always what I wanted to do.
Now, do you have any training? Did you go to school for it other than the Echo Park stuff, or did you just like kind of self-teach yourself?
No, I haven't had any. Just like those classes I took on how to like shoot 16 millimeter. That's pretty much it.
And you just kind of went out there and was like, I'm going to go tell a story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Seriously, that's so amazing. I hope I'm not gushing too much. I really am, because it's just I feel I'm just so happy to hear a young person like yourself doing all this. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Now, who were your idols, filmmaking idols growing up? Like, what directors did you just like? I love this guy's work, or I love this girl's work.
Here's a story.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
I think it must have been when I was 11 years old, when I fell completely, madly in love with Quentin Tarantino.
Mm-hmm. Like his movie or the person?
Both.
All right, then.
And I met him when I just turned 13, and I asked him to marry me.
Oh my God, that's so amazingly sweet. Go ahead. What did Quentin do?
He said something like, "Oh, that's so sweet. Maybe when you're older." Something like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How did you meet him? Where did you meet him?
I stalked him all the time. I just found out where he was going to be, screenings and stuff, and one of my premonitions came true. He was at something that I actually thought he was going to be at, and dreams came true.
You basically stalked Quentin Tarantino. That's
yeah.
I know many people on listening to the show would probably would want to do the same. So don't feel bad at all.
Yeah, I've seen him recently too, and I've told him about my film. He's just such a nice person, and he remembers me when I asked to marry him.
Oh, that's so awesome. So then, what did any other films that like kind of like when you saw, what was like the first film that you saw like, hey, I'm going to be a director after this? Like gave you the idea? Because we all, like, as directors, we all have that one movie that we see and just go, oh, I'm going to be a director. Do you have one of those?
I don't. It must have been because I think I started really, really wanting to make movies once I saw like the cheaper movies and like, oh my God, I could do that.
Oh, the low budget kind of stuff.
Just even stuff. I don't know. Probably I was like in middle school, like 12 or 13. I think like trauma movies, which is crazy because now my movies are trauma movies. Just stuff like Class of Nukem High and
gotcha.
Rabid Grannies,
Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, Toxic Avenger. I don't think I saw that one till later though. I think I saw really weird trauma movies.
That's kind of like an oxymoron. Weird trauma movies.
I know. Like I didn't see Toxic Avenger, but I saw things like Night Beast and really bizarre, obscure trauma movies that nobody's seen. Like just the weirdest ones. But even those movies that are just so bad, like I just thought they were amazing. Just like that have no plot, don't make any sense, but just have like the slightest sort of merit. Like there's pretty colors in one scene, or there's like a pretty looking girl in it, and it just makes it so good somehow, and I just loved it so much.
So let me ask you then, great leeway into this, how did you get hooked up with trauma films? How did Lloyd find you, discover you, if you will?
I actually reached out to them because I've always loved trauma, and actually like a year before I shot my movie, I was in New York and I took a tour of Trauma because it says on their websites that they do tours.
Sure.
And I remember I like rang the buzzer. There's like a little buzzer to get in. And they're like, "Who is it?" I was like, "I'm here for the tour." And they're like, "What tour?" I'm like, "Because you guys have tours." And so they took me up, and Michael Hers was there.
Uh-huh.
He's like nobody's been on a tour here in 2 years.
No one asks for tours.
No, and they just had like some intern like walk me around. He's like, "Well, this is where we work. Here's our kitchen. Here's Lloyd's desk. He's not here right now." And then they took me to the basement, and they're like,
okay, stop right there. They took you to the basement of Trauma Films.
Oh my God,
this is gonna get so much better.
Weird.
Go ahead.
They're just like. They showed me where they keep all their 35 millimeter prints, and they're like, we can't stay down here too long because like there's rat poop or something. He's like, sometimes people who come down here have to wear the Toxic Avenger mask so they can breathe better.
Wow.
And they're like, here's some of our posters for films that were never released. And it was just a really, really surreal experience. I have a photo of me sitting at Lloyd's desk, which is the most bizarre desk ever. There's just prosthetics and dead bodies and trauma flyers everywhere. It was an experience.
So I was gonna tell the audience, for those who don't know who Lloyd Kaufman is in Trauma Films, Lloyd is one of the original independent filmmakers. He came out with a movie called Toxic Avenger back in the 80s, which I saw when I was in high school, and Class of Nukem High and things like that. And he built an entire brand around his kind of movies, which are very distinctive trauma. And then he became very famous by going to the Cannes Film Festival every year and just creating a ruckus every year, and a lot of attention for his movies. Was it God, what is that? Kabuki Man? Is it Kabuki Man?
Sergeant Kabuki Man, yeah. NYPD.
Yes, Sergeant Kabuki Man's one of his guys, and I think Dolphin Boy or something like that, if I remember correctly. It's fascinating, and I plan on having Lloyd on the show in the coming weeks. I've been talking to Lloyd. We're just trying to get scheduling done, but I want Lloyd on because he's one of the originating independent filmmakers. And he's launched careers like you can't even believe. James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy, who wrote and directed that, started off with Trauma, and a bunch of other people. So just for people, just wanted to kind of give a little context to people who are listening,
Right.
who Trauma is. And then that was the other part of the story when you contacted me, like, oh yeah, my film just got picked up by Trauma. I'm like, oh gosh, this is amazing. I gotta hear the story. All right, so you've taken the tour now. Now what?
Yeah. And I remember I was talking to this intern that they were making me like take me around. And I was like, yeah, I love Trauma movies. And I love the movie Waitress, which was like a really early Trauma movie. And he's like, what? You like that movie? And he's like, hey, Michael, like Michael Hers. He's like, this girl likes the movie Waitress. And Michael goes, what? Why?
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
It was just so funny. And then they were just like, I think Michael said, like, give her some stuff. Like,
she likes Waitress. Give her some posters, some hats. Give her something.
Yeah, they gave me all these autographed posters and all this weird Trauma memorabilia. And then this one guy, he gave me a bar of soap. I don't know why. He just put it into my bag. He's like, here, you can have this too. It was really bizarre.
This is an amazing story. Like, I would expect nothing less from the basement of Trauma Films. But
anyways, that has nothing to do with how Trauma picked up my film. That's
I know. That's
story.
a great. No, it's wonderful. We're storytellers here on the Indie Film Podcast Festival.
Anyways, I was amazed because it was quite an experience. And I went around, I told everyone that story, and it was just really funny. And then a year later, I made this movie, and the day after we stopped shooting, or it might have been like the day we ended production, I sent an email right over to Lloyd Kaufman, just like on the Trauma website. And I just said, like, hi, my name's Kansas. I took a tour last year. I don't know if anyone remembers me.
I'm that person who took the tour last year. Right.
I'm that weird person that took the tour. I made a movie. It has Kato Kalin. It's shot on 16 millimeter, and it's cavemen. I gave him the whole spiel, and then Lloyd contacted me immediately saying, like, I'll be in LA, let's have lunch in a couple days. Nice. And then so I went to lunch with Lloyd Kaufman. I wore my Toxic Avenger t-shirt, of course. And we went to a Mexican restaurant in Venice, and he gave me more Trauma stuff, and then and then I just told him about the movie, and he was so nice. Lloyd was just the nicest person ever, and he was wearing his little bow tie. Yep, and
that's what he wears.
Yeah, and he was just so nice and supportive, and said he wants to work with me, and and then Trauma ended up releasing the movie.
Has it been released already, or is it going to be released?
It's going to be released early 2016.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, we're getting all the promotion stuff together right now. We're making the trailer right now as we speak.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's an awesome story. Again, you hustled. You saw the company that you wanted to work with. You made a product that was tailored to them, and then you contacted that company. It's not brain surgery. It really isn't, but you did it, and you have no idea how many filmmakers don't understand the simple concept of what you've done, and that's something I want to clearly state for everybody. There's so many filmmakers who just like, I'm just gonna go do this, I'm just gonna go that, but you had even the small plan that you did have. It kind of all worked. You know, it's not like you had this mastermind plan, but at least you kind of understood. Like, okay, well, I'm done with this movie. You know who I think will like this? Trauma, and I'm going to go after this company, and you were able to do everything. And
yeah, I think in that case it helps to be a fan of the genre you're in, because if I just made a horror movie and I didn't like horror movies, I would have no idea what Trauma was. You know, it helps to really have a passion for what you're doing.
As a filmmaker and as an artist, I think that's a very wise statement to say. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if you make a horror movie and you don't know horror, it's not probably going to be a really good horror movie. Yeah, as a general statement.
You got to know who your audience is.
God, you have no idea how much I preach that on this show and on my website. Like, understanding who your audience is, and you clearly understand who your audience is. You know, Trauma fans are going to love BC Butcher. Like, there's no question. You know, but
and Trauma fans and horror fans altogether, they're also a very forgiving audience. That's why I think it's best to start in horror, because myself included, I will watch any horror movie, no matter how bad it is. It's a very, very forgiving audience.
Right. You know what? You're absolutely right. It depends also who it's coming from. If it's someone like, they'll crucify Eli Roth, but they will not.
If they have a budget, then they have no excuse.
Yeah, and if they have experience, even less so. But I don't think anyone's going to be lobbing, grenades at you anytime in the near future.
Yeah.
I think you're safe for at least another few years, at least.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Just keep doing what you do, and you'll be fine. Now, what's next? What are you going to be shooting next? And are you shooting IMAX?
Oh no,
I'm joking.
Actually, I'm kind of taking a step down. I have a plan. I don't know if it's entirely possible, but my next movie, I want to do it in all 8mm, Super 8. I want to do a Super 8 movie.
You could do that.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the exact same price as 16, which is kind of bizarre since it's supposed to be a step down, just because you have to pay for it in increments, like 2.5 minutes. That's it. That's all they make. The roll of film for Super 8.
And you're working with Super 8 in Burbank.
Yeah, I'll probably use like Spectra, Pro 8. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are. You know what I'm talking about? The guys in Burbank, the Super 8 guys.
Yeah.
They're. I've shot Super 8. I used to own a Super 8 camera. I still own a Super 8 camera. That's what's on my on the cover of my website. It's me holding my Super 8, my Russian Super 8 camera, which is brand new. It's been used. I've used it on a few music videos, and I shot. In the early days, I shot some of my commercials with it. So I love Super 8, and I love those guys. Those guys are really, really good at what they do, and they're very niche. But now they do 16 as well, but with their specialized cameras, not like old Bolexes or Aries or anything like that. They have their special 16, then they have the cartridges and stuff like that. So your next goal is going to be shooting a Super 8 feature.
I already have the script written and everything. I'm trying to get it. I'm going to try to get a budget this time because I don't want to spend my own money again, which I think I could maybe do.
You should be, hopefully this podcast will help you get a little bit of attention for what you're trying to do. And hopefully people can support what you're trying to do, because, I'd be interested in seeing a Super 8 feature film, because there hasn't been a Super 8 feature film
like since Pink Flamingos.
Was that Super 8? No.
It's 8mm.
Was Pink Flamingos 8mm? Oh my God.
Yeah. This is going to be
Super 8.
Worlds different though from
oh no, the technology between
BC Butcher. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah, my next film, it's going to be like those like late 50s, early 60s, like pseudo educational films directed towards parents. But this time it's going to be about what your teenage daughters are doing, like that you don't know, but it's going to be like totally fake. And you
must have like come back as a soul from the 50s. I swear to God, because you're like deep into like, I understand completely what you're talking about. Those, like the duck and cover. And that kind
exactly.
of, or the weed one. What was that called? The weed one.
Reefer Madness,
which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and then there's also Mary Jane. There's another one.
Mary Jane,
that was the 60s one.
Brilliant.
Reefer Madness was the 30s one.
I mean, that is just brilliance of like the horrors of smoking pot.
And then it's going to be, I don't know if you've seen, there's these really terrible, awful movies called Faces of Death.
Oh my God.
I hate them so much, but it's going to be kind of like that, where there's going to be like a professor, like a narrator sitting at a desk looking very official, like this just in, we have footage of your daughters right now. Like that. I don't recommend that movie to anyone, but it's going to be like that.
So for the audience, I'm going to clarify what Faces of Death is, because that is from my time. When I was working in my video store. I know you. I know, Kansas. You have no idea what that is. When I was working in my video store, the three top renters were Pinocchio, Scarface, and Faces of Death.
Oh no! Oh my God!
Those three, and Faces of Death is it was a series of movies. I think it was. I don't know when it was created originally. It might have been the 70s or the 80s.
Yes,
but
I think 70s.
And then they made more. They made Faces of Death 2, 3, 4. I think.
I think there's 7 of them.
Yeah, and it's basically just scenes of like, people, it's really, I can't even want to get into it. It's just really kind of really disgusting live things of people doing
some
animal stuff, which is horrid, and it's repulsive. It's absolutely repulsive.
Yeah,
but
it's what I want to do in a sense, because it's a pseudo documentary. Like, you don't know what's real and what's fake,
right.
Except instead of actual gore and fake gore, I'm gonna have just happy teenage girls instead. Is something a lot lighter,
a little bit lighter than Faces of Death, but using that kind of like a narrator
that
sitting
kind of
down
format. Yeah,
that format makes
like the early Mondo movie, Mondo Hollywood, Mondo Tino, Mondo Kane, Mondo Bellardo, all those ones.
Wow, just I'm so impressed. Like, all this stuff. Like, you're like a mini female Quentin Tarantino. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Oh wow, thank you.
Like, like so many of these kind of more obscure films, like, look, if you impressed Trauma with your prowess of Trauma films. They're like, Waitress, what? So you've gone deep down that rabbit hole, and that
Waitress is good, though. I recommend Waitress.
Not the Kerry Russell Waitress, which was a Sundance favorite later. This is an earlier Trauma one. Yeah, Trauma Waitress is the one.
Very, very bizarre 70s comedy about waitressing.
I love Lloyd. I really do.
Yeah.
I've met Lloyd a couple times. I met him at Sundance a few times. Him and his lovely wife, and he's just wonderful. He's a character, and then some. And
he's so cool.
And a bit of trivia for everybody. Lloyd is in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
He is a cameo in the prison scene. James Gunn gave him a cameo of him yelling and screaming right before the big fight in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I was like, Lloyd, it was wonderful to watch. So I'm going to ask you the two of the toughest questions I ask in the interviews. Okay. What is the most underrated film you've ever watched? And I'm dying to hear this answer.
Okay, I got this prepared.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, The Tammy Show.
I've never heard of The Tammy Show. Please enlighten me.
Okay, The Tammy Show. Tammy stands for something like Teenage Music International Show, something like that. Okay, It was a 1964 American International Pictures, and they used the same format of like the Ed Sullivan Show or Hullabaloo Shindig, where it's just like cool bands coming out and playing with all the choreographed dances behind them, except they made an entire feature-length movie, but based off of a live performance at the Santa Monica Civic.
Okay.
And they have it's hosted by Jan and Dean.
Just Jan and Dean. Just Jan and Dean. We don't know who Jan and Dean is.
Jan and Dean,
Janet Dean, one person.
No, Jan and Dean.
Okay.
The surf group.
Oh, I've never.
Two girls for every boy.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
got it.
And it features the Rolling Stones, James Brown, Leslie Gore, Beach Boys, the Supremes, just pretty much everybody, and it's amazing. And Chuck Berry, and it has go-go dancers, choreographed dancing, and it's just the most beautiful performance ever.
Oh my God, that's like that's like, I think, honestly, the best answer I've ever heard.
Really? Okay.
That is honestly, of all the times I've asked this on the show, that is one of the best answers I've ever had, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt. It's really like, I want to go see that movie now. I'm like, it's
just incredible. It's just like every single band just gives like the most amazing performance. Like Leslie Gore will make you want to cry. She's just so beautiful and amazing. And James Brown, everyone says it's like the best performances in his entire career.
He killed it. He killed it.
Yeah, he killed it. And the Rolling Stones clothes, and it's just so great. And people don't make movies like that anymore. That's also something I want after my Super 8 movie. I'm definitely 100% want to make a movie like this where it's just like a music movie, because people do not do that anymore.
No, it's rare. It's rare because of the world today.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question. Have you thought of doing? I know you're doing. You're a filmmaker and you want to make features, but have you thought of building up like a YouTube channel or something else, like a lot of other people in your generation are doing?
Not really. I mean, I'm doing music videos for people. That's what I do when I'm not doing like promotion for films or writing films or doing
Okay.
features. So I think that sort of makes up for it. I don't know.
You're doing so. Do you like doing music videos? It's a good way to kind of
Yeah, I
experiment.
really like it. The one I just did, it's going to come out soon. I love it so much. I actually feel it's like the best thing I've ever done. That's how excited I am about it. It's for this LA band called Kill My Coquette.
Mm-hmm.
And the singer, Natalie Denise Spurl, she's like a actress model. She's going to be like the next Deborah Harry. She's so cool. And we did this like fake beauty pageant music video where she plays 5 different contestants while she's singing the song. And we have the judges. It's Cherie Curry, Rodney Bingenheimer, and Richie Ramone.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Now, obviously shot on 16.
Yes,
obviously.
Shot on 16 millimeter.
Do you own your own camera, or is it just something that you have to rent all the time?
I do own like a 16 camera, but it's not crystal sync or anything. It's just for if I want to shoot, B-roll. I have a Super 8 for that too.
Mm-hmm.
For this music video, I actually use the same cinematographer for my movie.
Mm-hmm.
I did just do a music video for a band called Citizenship, this Canadian band, where I shot it on my Super 8 camera, so I did all the cinematography for that. Well, and the singer shot some stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one I did.
And how are you getting work as a director, as a music video director?
Well, so far, I did one music video for a friend of mine. She's in a band called Alieska, and she's trying to have like a Velvet Underground type sound. So I thought I would do a split screen music video, like the Andy Warhol movie Chelsea Girls, just because I thought, that's
who are you and how do you know all of this? Are you a robot that was made out of Tarantino's garage? Seriously. A subgenre of Tarantino? I mean, seriously. Because he knows all movies. You know this. Like, what 19-year-old person I've ever heard talks about Andy Warhol's movies? It's
product of the Tarantino generation.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. Yes, I just did a music video for her. That one was on a Bolex and like split screen, half color, half black and white. And then people kind of approached me after that, like they liked the video and they wanted me to do them. Well, so yeah,
so word of mouth basically at this point.
Yeah.
You haven't found a production company to rep you or anything just yet.
I'm looking.
You're looking. You should. You gotta. I mean, I wish I had one because I'd hire you because you're fantastic. So the tough question I always ask everyone on the show: what are your top 3 favorite films of all time? And of course, I definitely want to hear the answer to this.
Okay. I have more than 3.
Go for it.
Okay.
Just keep the list under 5.
Okay. Well, tied for number 1.
Okay.
Is Rock and Roll High School.
Genius.
The Ramones movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because
brilliant movie.
Okay, I need to say because.
Okay.
Because so many bands in the 60s made movies like that where it's like, the band has a story that Rock and Roll High School is about, like the Ramones' #1 fan and they come to her high school. Like every band did that, Herman's Hermits, Dave Clark 5, the Beatles, they all had movies like that. But the Ramones were the last band to do that. The Ramones were the 60s in the 70s and the Ramones are perfect. So that is...
Yes.
That's why that choice. Second, number 1 is Midnight Cowboy.
Wow, that's an excellent film.
Just because I think it's a perfect movie, but I know I'll never be able to make a movie that perfect. So
you never know, my dear. You never know. You never know.
It's too perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and then also, Russ Meyer.
Of course.
I love all of his movies. My 2 favorite, of course, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Super Vixens.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just outrageous and cartoonish and just what I love so much about them is just how he's able to create a cartoon in real life. How every single aspect of his films are just so completely cartoonish. Mm-hmm. Just of course, how the actresses look, even just like a little boy's fantasy.
Yes.
And
yes.
Okay, I have a few more.
Go for it.
Spider Baby.
I remember Spider Baby. I remember that name. I haven't seen it, but I remember that name. Please tell me what it is. Spider
Baby is the most... It's just like a really touching horror movie. and it has Jill Banner, who was like a Sunset Strip scenester who somehow landed a role in a film, and that was like kind of the only thing she did. And then Lon Chaney Jr., Beverly Washburn, the little girl from Old Yeller, and Sid Haig. And they're like this family that has this weird disease called the Mary syndrome, where that once they hit puberty, they slowly digress into homicidal maniacs, and then eventually they turn into these weird cat people.
What? That's
but it's like really touching, and it actually makes you cry, and you really love all the characters.
All of these movies, like we just keep getting Avenger movies. Like that's interesting.
I know, it's so good.
It just sounds like a good Friday night or Saturday night out. Like that, a movie like that.
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Okay, and then Lord Love a Duck.
Lord Love a Duck.
Yes, which has
another one I've never heard of. Go ahead.
One of my favorite actresses in the entire world, Tuesday Weld, Baby Queen of the Beatniks. That's her nickname.
Okay. Okay.
That's Tuesday Weld, Lola Albright, Roddy McDowell, Ruth Gordon, and it's like a parody of beach movies made in the 60s, but it's also like a super dark, violent comedy with a really, really cool theme song, and then this really bizarre scene. It's most famous for this one really weird scene where she tries to seduce her father by putting on all these sweaters, and you just have to see it. It's very strange.
Where do you see these movies? Like, is this all VHS? Because have they been released on DVD?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on DVD somewhere. I did get that one on VHS though.
Okay, because I'm sure it's a little harder to find. These are not your standard iTunes fare.
Yeah. Okay. So those are my. And then every single like beach party movie, every single Elvis movie, anything from Crown International or American International or New World Pictures. There.
Oh,
you gotta
New
cut
World.
me off.
New World. Yeah. Then we can start getting into some.
Roger Corman. He's a huge idol.
Another one.
Yeah. So many idols. I can just go on for days.
That is awesome. That's also one of the best answers to that question ever. As well. So you did your homework well, my dear. You did a fantastic job. I'm in awe, honestly. I'm actually in awe of your prowess in film history of your genre and of the movies you love, and that the passion you have for what you do as an artist is all you could ever ask for. You know, it honestly, so many filmmakers today, from your generation and from up to mine and older, they're trying to figure out what's hot, what's new, what's going to get me the deal, what's going to get me this. And very few people are passionate about what they do specifically and just want to make movies because they want to make these movies because that's what they want to express as an artist. And you are the definition of that. So
thank you.
I'm being honest. You are the definition of someone who loves what they love, is unapologetic about it, and has such a reverence for the material that their movies have to have that kind of love and passion in it. So I look forward to seeing all of the movies you come up with in the coming years.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to compare you to him, but the last time I heard someone like this was Tarantino. And I'm not saying he's like you or you're the same, but someone who had such reverence for obscure movies, because a lot of the stuff you've said is completely out of the norm, out of the mainstream, obscure movies that are gems. And there's so many gems out there. Thousands of movies that are being lost even nowadays because they just can't, no one's taking care of them. Tell Lloyd to make sure he takes care of his damn library because, I mean, get him out of the damn basement with the rats and tell him to do something real with it. I'm going to yell at him when I get him on the show, I swear. Okay. So thank you again so much. You have been an absolute inspiration to me. And I hope to our listeners, I hope you continue to make your movies the way you want to make them. Don't ever let anyone else tell you differently. Just make what you want to make. And if you can make a little bit of money along the way, all the better. But
that would be cool.
That would be cool. So you can kind of make a living doing this. But keep doing what you're doing, and nothing but good things will come out of it. I guarantee you. So thanks again so much. By the way, how can people find you? That's very, very important. How can people find you and support you?
Well, there's a BC Butcher Twitter page. You can find a bunch of updates on it. It's just the BC Butcher Twitter. Or just follow anything Trauma says. Trauma has all the news for the film. We're gonna have a trailer coming out soon. I don't really have a personal webpage right now, but just
we will talk about that when we get off air. You need a personal webpage.
Okay.
Okay. And do you have any other way of contact? Do you have like a Patreon account yet? Do you have anything where people can like support you and support what you're trying to do?
I don't know.
Not yet. Again,
people can feel free to email me. I'll give out my email. I really don't care. It's
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, yeah, bowlingkansas@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, people can just reach out to you. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll put that information in. But thanks again, Kansas, so much for being on the show. You've been an absolute joy. And I hope this podcast helps you out and get some more attention for what you're trying to do, because you are a rare bird in these parts nowadays. So thanks again.
All right, thank you so much.
Well, I'm inspired. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely am. Kansas really shows the true definition of the word hustle. At such a young age, she is definitely hustling hard to get her dreams to come true and get her career off the ground. And, God bless, man. She was great. And I just love that she had this amazing knowledge of and wealth of, like, she's basically like an encyclopedia or a Google for her genre of films that she went so deep down into. So she's like the Tarantino of her world, of the kind of films that she liked. She was spitting out movies I'd never even heard of because they are really deep in the archives of film history. So I was so impressed with her, and I wish you, Kansas, if you're hearing this, I wish you nothing but the best in the future. And you are a true inspiration to all filmmakers getting their movies out there and hustling hard. So thanks for keeping up the fight and inspiring all of us. So now, guys, don't forget to head over to filmmakingpodcast.com. That's filmmakingpodcast.com, and leave us a good review, hopefully, or an honest review of the show. It helps us out tremendously, and helps us get ranking higher in iTunes and gets more ears and eyeballs on Indie Film Hustle, and gets the message of what we're trying to do out there and help more filmmakers survive and thrive in the film industry. And guys, by the way, we will be doing a course on actual film making, real filmmaking. I know it's amazing. We're going to be doing a course on 16 millimeter filmmaking and 35 millimeter filmmaking. And I know a lot of you going, well, that's kind of crazy. No one shoots film anymore. Well, believe it or not, there is a lot of people that are starting to shoot film. I've been working on projects that were shot on Super 16, which is a very popular format because of its cost and its ability to be transferred up to HD and to 2K fairly inexpensively. And the look is really good. They shot Black Swan on it, as well as The Wrestler, Darren Aronofsky's two films, because of the aesthetic. So film's never going to go back to where it was as the dominant format, but it is a format that I think will stick around for a long while, and it does have its benefits, guys. And if you've never shot film, it's a fun format, man. I loved it. Love shooting it. But anyway, guys, so just give you a little tip on that. That's coming down the pipeline in the next few months or so. So thanks again, guys, for listening so much. Again, if you need to go to the show notes, go to indiefilmhustle.com/059 to get all the show notes to talk about everything that we've talked about in this episode. Keep that hustle going. Keep that dream alive. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.
Well, I see that the true Indie Film Hustle tribe members are still listening, so thank you for that, guys. You guys know that I occasionally will toss out a quick little Easter egg, a deal or so, that or a coupon for one of our courses by doing this, and you're in for a treat. This week, I'm going to give you guys a special reward for being true Indie Film Hustle tribe members. My course, Twitter Hacks, I'm going to be giving it out for $20 as opposed to the normal $50 that it is currently. So just go to indiefilmhustle.com/Twitter. That's indiefilmhustle.com/Twitter. And you will get the course for $20. If you guys haven't heard about the course, it's about how I was able to get 10,000 true fans in 10 weeks. And a lot of my students have been able to do that faster. I've had 3 people been able to get to 10,000 in faster time than I did. And now we're over at 20,000 followers on Twitter and growing daily. So the techniques work, and it's a great course. A lot of people really, really, really like it. So if you're trying to get your social media game up and want to help get the word out on your movie, your company, yourself as a brand, or yourself as a director, actor, writer, what have you, this is definitely a course that's going to help you get your social media game up a bit. So again, indiefilmhustle.com/Twitter. And I'll be around for a little while, so I don't know when I'm going to pull it out. I could pull it down any day, but it's available now. Give it a shot. Thanks again, guys, as always, and I will see you next week.